Welcome to the session. My name is Sharad, and in this session, we are going to learn something about Core Java. The prerequisites for this session, I would say, is you need to have some kind of basic understanding of some of the general programming concepts. Right? And even if you don't have any kind of exposure to it, I would still say you can take it as a first step, and then I would advise you to at least go through it twice so that whatever is talked in this tutorial makes sense to you. Right? Okay, so this is the agenda for our session. I'll start off with some introduction where we will see what Java is and get introduced to some of the concepts in Java. And also we are going to write some programs using the Java programming language. And afterwards we are going to talk about some of the features of Java like access modifiers, operators, flow controls, arrays, strings, OOPS, which stands for object oriented programming. We are going to talk what are the OOPS concepts, exceptions, garbage collection, which is one of the very important topics in Java, collections, which is nothing but a set of data structures, threads, and in the end we are going to have a demo where we are going to write different programs, write our programs and execute them and see them how they really work real time. Right? Okay, so what is Java? Java is nothing but a programming language. So as we have got other programming languages like C, C Sharp, C++, and many others, right? So Java is also a programming language. So this is a programming language using which you can develop applets, you can develop standalone applications, you can develop web applications, you can develop enterprise applications. So this is basically a very strong programming language, and it is one of the most widely used programming language. Right? Platform independent. What do I mean by platform independence? Now, say for example, I've written a code on my system which actually runs on Microsoft operating system. Right? Now, once my code is ready to be executed, I can simply take this and put it on any other system which runs on any operating system. Say for example, a Unix box, and my code is going to run exactly the same way it had actually run on my system. Right? So irrespective of any operating system you use, Unix, Mac, Windows, anything, your code is going to run on any system without making a single change to your program or source code, right? So that is platform independence. Object oriented. Java actually complies to the object oriented programming concepts. So what these object oriented concepts are about, we're going to talk it in the future slides, right? But there is a very common misconception many people have that since Java complies to object-oriented program concepts, whatever you write in Java is object-oriented program, right? No, that is false, because although Java supports object-oriented programming, it doesn't really mean that whatever you write in Java becomes object-oriented program. No, because unless you write your code in such a way that you make use of all those object-oriented concepts which Java provides, you don't really create an object-oriented program, right? So next thing is compiled and interpreted. So Java is basically both compiled and interpreted. We will see how it's both compiled and interpreted in the next slide. Right. Alright, so here we'll be talking something about Java Virtual Machine. So we've just discussed that Java is platform independence, right? Well, in whatever operating system I write my code, I can simply execute it on any other operating system, right? How is it possible? Possible because of the Java Virtual Machine. Okay. Now let's see how the whole process goes. Okay. So you write your Java program, right? And you name your program as a .java file. Okay. And you basically compile your program and pass your Java program to the Java compiler, which actually compiles your program, and the compiler creates a .class file. So once you pass your program to the Java compiler, it checks for any kind of syntax errors. If no errors are found in your program, it's going to pass the test and then create a .class file for you with the same name as your .java file name. So after the compilation is done, you've got two files now, one with extension .java and the other with the extension .class, right? And this .class file is nothing but a byte file. Okay, Now what happens when you execute this Java program on your machine is the Java virtual machine takes this class file and then it converts this class file into something which is readable by your operating system, right? So all the heavy lifting is done by your Java virtual machine. So it's going to take your class file, convert it into a format which is readable by the operating system, and then it's going to execute that program on the system, right? So this is basically how, and what happens here, your code is actually interpreted here, right, not compiled. So your program is actually both compiled and interpreted, and this is how platform independence is achieved in Java using the Java virtual machine. So irrespective of any operating system, your programs run on the Java virtual machine. Okay, and for this reason Java is also called Vora, which stands for write once, run anywhere. So you write your programs only once and you can run it anywhere, right?
So now that we've seen what the role of a Java virtual machine is and how it actually transforms your Java program into a class file and executes your program, let's go ahead with our first program. So this is a very simple program. It's just the output of this program would be, it simply prints out hello world on the screen, on the console, right? Okay, so every Java program you write should have a structure, like it should begin with a package declaration. If you don't give any package declaration, it means it takes a default package, right? Followed by that, you're going to have some bunch of import statements. So if you are using any other class which is outside this package, you need to import that class in order to use that classes, methods or functions in your particular class, right? So since I don't need to import any other classes, this is a very simple program. I don't have any import statements here, right? So the package declaration and import statement are basically, it's optional, it's not mandatory. But what is mandatory is the class declaration. So you need to have a public class and it should have the same name as your file name. So if your file name was hello world.java, so your class name, your public class name should be hello world, public class hello world. So you can have basically multiple classes in the same file, but there should only be one class with the public modifier, right? So a public means anyone and everyone outside this class, outside this package, can view your class. Okay, so within the class we have a set of attributes and set of methods. Okay, so attributes are nothing but say for example, if you treat a person as a class, an attribute for a person would be like his height or his weight, right? So that would be attributes here, which is also called as instance variables for the class, right? And methods for a person would be start working or stop working or do homework, or it can be so many methods we have, right, in our day-to-day life. So your behavior and all those things can be treated as methods in your class, right? And in this class I've got only one method. It's public static void main. Okay, and what does that method does? It simply prints hello world onto the console. So when I say system.out.println, anything that I put into that system.out.println, it's going to print that statement onto the console, right? Okay, so what happens, how do you actually compile your class? You've now written your Java program, you've saved it as hello world.java, right? How do you basically compile your program? You say Java C, which means Java compiler, right? Java C hello world.java. So once you give the statement in the directory in which your file is, it's going to compile your program and it's going to create a .class file if there are no errors in your program. So since this is error free program, it's not going to generate any compile errors for me, and it's not going to give me any error messages, right? It's going to compile and it's going to create a class file for me with the same name. So it's going to create a hello world.class. Okay, and then how do you execute a program? You simply say Java and you say the class name hello world, and you don't put a .java or .class here when you actually execute your program. You simply say Java and you say the class name. So then it's going to, so what happens when you say Java hello world? What it's going to do is it's going to check for your class file with the name hello world, right? And it sees that, okay, it finds a class file with the name hello world. Okay, now that the class file is found with the name hello world, it is going to search for a main method with this particular signature. It should be public static void main, and it should have a string array as an argument. Okay, so it is going to check only for this kind of syntax. Okay, if you also say private static void main, it's not going to work. If you say public void main, it's not going to work. It should be public static void main, which takes a string argument. So once it finds this main method for your class, it's going to invoke that method, right? So what's there in my method? Simply it says system.out.println hello world. So it simply finds my class, my public class with the name hello world in the package comp.shell-balepo.test, and it's going to invoke the main method, which has a signature public static void main with string arguments, and it's going to execute that method. Whatever is there within that method is going to execute those statements. So as of now, I only have system.out.println, so it's going to print that out onto the console, right? So this is my very first Java program, which looks very simple, right? Now I've got a version 2 for my program. So basically what I've done there, I've added another method here called display method. Okay, and instead of doing a system.out.println on my main method, I'm doing a system.out.println in the display method. So this shows that within your class you can have multiple methods, right? It's not just one method, you can have a number of methods in your class. So now I have two methods. Okay, so similarly, when I compile the program, when I compile my Java class, it's going to compile fine and it's going to create a .class file for me. Now let's see what happens when I run this program. When I say Java hello world, again, as we've discussed earlier, it goes into the main method, and here you see that I have a statement called hello world HW is equal to new hello world. So what does it really mean? It means that I'm creating an object, I'm creating an instance for this class called hello world, right? And I'm calling the display method for that particular instance. Okay, and when the display method is invoked, it simply prints out hello world onto the console, right? So now let's discuss something about this statement hello world HW is equal to new hello world. Now we've already discussed that you can correlate a class to a person, right? So basically a person has got some behavior, a set of attributes, a set of behavior, right? But a person in itself is not a real object. Okay, it's just a very, you can say it's kind of virtual thing, right? When you say a person, it doesn't really, you can't correlate that person to any living being you know, right? So it's just a virtual thing, right? But say for example me, Sharad, is actually an object. So I have all the attributes and all the characteristics and all the behavior of a person, right? So in similar way, hello world class is just a blueprint. Okay, it's not really an object, and it doesn't really have its methods in it. So it's just a blueprint. So you can say it's something virtual. Okay, hasn't got any existence. So once you create an object for this hello world, it actually comes into existence. Okay, so it creates an object for hello world, and you have this instance for instances HW, and the object is the object created when you say new hello world. Okay, so as such, a person, there's no existence. But when I say person P is equal to, when I say person P is equal to new person, and I pass Sharad as a parameter, say for example, so it's going to create new person called Sharad, right? And I'm going to have an instance variable for that, and I'm going to have a reference, not instance, I'm sorry, I'm going to have a reference for that object called Sharad. So similarly here I have a reference called HW for the hello world object, and I call the display method on that object. So this is the hello world class, and I call the display method in that class, which will print hello world. Right? We will actually discuss about the references and objects and class and all those things in the future slides. Okay. Now I've got one more new version of my class. So what I've done here now, I'm not just typing hello world, but I'm also typing the username. Okay, and from where do I get the username? We've seen earlier that the main method does have arguments. It's got a string array as an argument. Okay, so you can pass a number of string values or string literals to the main method for your program, right? And how do you pass that? When you call your program, when you execute your program and you say Java hello world, you can pass a number of string values followed by spaces, right? Followed by your class name. So I say Java hello world Sharad. So now this is going to call my main method with the passing the string argument value as Sharad for the first position, right? So it's going to have Sharad in the first place in that string argument string array, right? So I'm simply going to capture that, and I'm going to pass that display to the display method I have. Okay, and public void display, what does it mean? It means that public, anybody can access this method. Void, which means that it doesn't return anything. Display is nothing but the method name, and it has the arguments of string. So I pass a string value as an argument, and I simply display, I print out hello and username. So if I say Java hello world Sharad, it's going to print out hello Sharad as output of this program, right? So here we have learned that you can really pass values to your program when you execute it, and you can use those values, and you can have arguments to your methods, right? Okay. Now I've got one more version of my program. So what's the difference now? So earlier I actually passed the argument, string argument value, that is Sharad, directly to the display method, right? Now what I'm doing here is I'm assigning that value to an instance variable, right? So I've got an instance variable called username, and how do I access this instance variable? Using the reference which I have created. So I have created HW reference, and I'm going to use that instance variable using that reference. So I'll say HW.username is equal to args0. So when I say Java hello world Sharad, I pass in Sharad as string argument here. It's going to create a new object of hello world class for me, and I'm going to assign the value which is passed in as an argument to the instance variable I have. So we've never had an instance variable till now in the previous 3 versions. In this version we do have one. So how do I use this instance variable? Now since this is public, right? This instance variable is public, anyone can use it within my class. So I simply use that instance variable directly in my display method, and I use it to display the hello username string, right? So the output of this would again be hello Sharad, right? So this is my hello world first program, which I just try to show you with different variations, right? Using the instance variables, using the methods, and passing arguments to your class. We will actually look at more examples in the demo session. Okay.